action has been taken by Donald Trump to deal with a rogue regime
run
by ideological fanatics who wanted to eliminate...
Where's the uranium, Michael?
Who wanted to eliminate Israel. Again, maybe your friends in the Tehran regime can tell you, because they won't tell me.
Wow. How are they my friends, Michael? Is it my name? My skin color?
I'm still waiting.
My religion?
Public displays of homosexuality is hanging gay men from cranes.
Michael, have you ever spoken out against anti-homosexual laws in Saudi Arabia or any other Gulf countries?
Yes.
But they're our allies, so we bomb Saudi Arabia.
The Iranian government that so many people are anxious to find excuses for.
Michael, should we bomb Saudi Arabia?
What is up, everybody? Lucas here. What you are about to watch is Michael Gove getting completely dismantled on live television. And the moment that breaks him is not even from the journalist. It is from a single audience member with one question he cannot answer. Mehdi Hasan walks Gove through the entire timeline. The 2015 nuclear deal was working. IAEA inspectors were inside Iran every single day, 274 of them. Trump tore the deal up. Iran started enriching at 60%, and then we bombed them. Now there are 0 monitors inside Iran. 0. And Gove has no answer, because there is no answer. Then an audience member stands up and asks the one question that ends the whole conversation. If you care so much about gay people in Iran, how does bombing the prison they were held in help them? The pause you are about to hear is the sound of an establishment politician running out of lies in real time. Full breakdown at the end. Subscribe and let's get into it.
Answer that question. A president who I was not a big fan of, but did something very good in his last year in office, which the UK government also supported. I believe you were in the government that supported him when he did it, which is Barack Obama and the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear agreement, which actually put Iran's nuclear program under inspection, under control. How much uranium were they allowed to enrich under Barack Obama's deal that the British government of Theresa May supported, or David Cameron, I think it would have been still then in 2015? 3.67% was the level of enrichment that the US State Department and the IAEA signed off on under the Iran nuclear deal. Barack Obama did that deal. Donald Trump doesn't like Barack Obama, so as soon as he heard that Obama did that deal, he tore up the deal in 2018. His own defense secretary, James Mattis, said, don't do it, it's working. Some Israeli generals said, don't tear it up. Trump tore up that deal, and that's where we end up today. That's exactly why they have nuclear enrichment at 60%, 400 kilograms of it. The entire crisis in Iran was created by a reckless, impulsive Trump throwing away that document that Barack Obama and the British government worked on. You were in the government.
How can you blame America for
Iran
enriching uranium?
Because there was a deal.
It's the choice of the Iranian leaders. It's the choice of people whose response to public displays of homosexuality is hanging gay men from cranes.
Michael, have you ever spoken out against anti-homosexual laws in Saudi Arabia or any other Gulf countries?
Yes.
But they're our allies. Why do you use this bogus argument? The British government allies perfectly fine with lots of repressive governments who treat gay people badly. You know it and I know.
I am more than happy to, whether it's Uganda or Saudi Arabia. But I'm merely pointing out
so we bomb Saudi Arabia?
The Iranian government that so many people are anxious to find excuses for.
Michael, should we bomb Saudi Arabia?
Also one.
Can we come back?
Should we bomb Saudi Arabia? It's a simple question.
No, well, Saudi Arabia has not said that it's intent on wiping out another
so you've
nation.
moved the goalpost. Just now you said it was about gay people. I said Saudi Arabia treats gay people badly. Now you've moved the goalpost. Pick one.
I'm pointing out the nature of the Iranian regime that you seem so anxious, Mehdi, to defend.
I've not said a word of defense of Iran. You defended the Saudi government's treatment. I didn't say a word about it.
I haven't defended the Saudi
government. They all heard you
say move the goalpost. I want to come back to this question.
I just find it instructive.
Michael,
so
hold on.
Hang on,
no, Ritterly, just made a
draw your own conclusions.
So hold on. William Hague, who was the leader of your party, the foreign secretary, wrote an article in the Times where you used to write, saying that this action will more likely lead to a bomb than anything else. Is he also an Iran stooge, Michael?
So that's the specific point I wanted to put to you, Michael. Are we in a position where nuclear proliferation is more likely rather than less likely?
No.
That's just flat wrong.
Why would you say that?
IAEA disagrees with you.
Because action has been taken by Donald Trump to deal with a rogue regime run by ideological fanatics who wanted to eliminate.
Where's the uranium, Michael?
Who wanted to eliminate Israel.
But
Where's
you
the
could,
uranium?
Mehdi, you could argue.
Well, again, maybe your friends in the Tehran regime can tell you, because they won't tell me.
Wow. Wow. How are they my friends, Michael? Is it my name? My skin color? My religion? Which one is it?
I'm still waiting for any criticism of them.
I'm happy to criticize them. I think Iran is a country with a horrible human rights abuse and shouldn't be developing nuclear weapons, which the US government, by the way, of Trump said they are not developing nuclear weapons. You lied to the audience at the podium when you said they were developing nuclear weapons. Tulsi Gabbard said in March they're not developing nuclear weapons. I guess she's also an Iran stooge. Trump is also an Iran stooge. I would point out to you, very important point. There were 274 monitors from the IAEA in Iran up until Trump struck Iran. They were looking at nuclear facilities every day. How many monitors are in there today? How many IAEA monitors in Iran today, Michael? Zero. None. Trump's made the world less safe.
Believe. I don't know whether it's naivety or misdirection, but if you believe that IAEA monitors are the way to ensure that Iran is not going to develop a nuclear weapon, when you've already acknowledged that the rate at which uranium was being enriched was significantly higher over the...
Because he tore up the deal, the guy you loved.
No. It's because of the intent of Iran. It is because of the intent of
that
regime.
Mehdi, you have to acknowledge that what we've seen, with or without Trump, is the limits of multilateral organizations.
How?
And actually, you've got a president who is willing to grasp difficult issues and take them in a direction of his choosing.
Rachel, I respect that you're the moderator and you have to ask that question, but you know very well, every non-proliferation expert agrees that those strikes did not help with non-proliferation. The IAEA have come out and said it didn't help. And by the way, the uranium, the uranium is missing. You mean the former Dutch Prime Minister who sends texts to Donald Trump in caps locks, sucking up to him like you do? Great, what a credible source you have there. Most nuclear experts look at the uranium missing and say, hold on, we had a deal where they were enriching at 3.67%, supported by David Cameron and Michael Gove, supported by Barack Obama. Trump tore it up. They started enriching more. Then we bombed them, so they hid the uranium. Given we bombed them, they're more likely to now want a nuclear weapon because they see North Korea, where Trump loves North Korea. They say, we want to be like North Korea.
One more question.
Trump loves North Korea. Do you love North Korea?
One more question to you, Michael.
Your friends in Pyongyang.
Open it to the floor, which is, Michael, if this is a president who wants to end wars, why do you think he treats his allies so inconstantly, so unpredictably? And where does that leave? If you were in government now, how would you handle President Trump?
Well, the first thing to say is, contrary to Mehdi's mischaracterization, when it comes to multilateral organizations that have kept the peace, I would prefer NATO over the IAEA any day. And the current Secretary General of NATO, I mean, I know that Mehdi might think that being Dutch Prime Minister is somehow a disabling factor.
He's not a non-proliferation expert, Michael, is my point. The IAEA chief is.
Well, NATO has more successfully kept the peace than the IAEA for decades.
Well, the IAEA
and I think
right
that the Secretary General of NATO may know rather more about diplomacy in the military than either Mehdi or I, and it's his conclusion that the strike on Iran made the world safer. So
and if you could answer the question, if you were in government now, how would you deal with a president who is not always very kind, to put it politely, to his allies?
In the same way as I would have treated President Obama or President Clinton or President Nixon or any US president. You have to recognize that an American president is naturally going to pursue the national interest of their own nation. And where someone is leading that country who is inclined to be in the historic tradition of an ally, work with them, but where you disagree, say so.
Okay, now I'm going to open it up to all of you for questions. I know there's lots of real passion out there. Please ask questions, don't want speeches. Michael has to go at 7:30, so if you've got a question specifically for him, that would be great. I'll begin with those. I'm going to start, I can see a couple of hands up on the right-hand side, so I'm going to start over here. I think you're going to go to the first one. There's a couple at the back there, and then we'll go round. And I know you guys, I will come to you up there as well. I'm going to take two, yes.
Thank you very much. My question is for Michael, who mentioned Iranian gays. You said that the Iranian regime treating them badly. Yes, very badly, even sometimes put them in the jail. And during this strike, Israeli government striked Iranian prisons. During the visit time, killed most than 50 persons in one go. Most of them, the families, and they were LGBTQ community, how killing gays are helping them, how you're mentioning Iranian gays now in this conversation.
Okay. And there's a question at the back there as well. If you can ask questions, that would be great. There's a gentleman with his hand up right there.
Mr. Gove, do you wish you'd properly prepared for this debate now?
Okay, I'm going to take one more. There's one over there on the right.
Mr. Gove, did I understand you correctly? You said we're not to pass judgment about Mr. Trump based on his morals, but solely based on the outcome of his actions. Is that now, with all the talk about shared value, is that now your view? Morality does a lot of heavy lifting here. Is it an irrelevance, in your opinion, whether a leader of a nation has respect for the rule of law and whether he is a man of integrity?
Okay, thank you. Michael.
Well, on those 3 points, on the first point, it is the case that the Iranian regime has done terrible things to its people, which is why almost every Iranian diaspora organization wants to see it go, and why there was such widespread support for what was, as Mehdi points out, an American assault against Iran, but one which was cheered on the streets by Iranian refugees worldwide. On the second point, I'm prepared for anything, even the criticism that comes from people who disagree with me profoundly. And on the third point, one was thinking about foreign affairs and diplomacy. Of course, one can think about a moral dimension, but inevitably, when we're judging whether or not the world is a safer place, one has to look at consequences, events, and numbers rather than passing a moral judgment, because there are very, very few world leaders whom one would happily consider to be eligible either to be one's confessor or one's brother, or whom one would wish to see come home and marry into one's family. It's in the nature of world leaders that they operate, particularly when it comes to diplomacy and conflict, in a morally compromised world. What we therefore need to do is to look clearly at what the difficult alternatives are with which they are dealing, and also look at the consequences of their actions thereby.
Let me respond briefly to two things. One is, on the morality point, I actually agree with Michael. I don't think you can put the morality as a standard. I happen to think it is immoral the way Donald Trump behaves on the international stage when he says he refuses to call Putin a dictator but calls Zelensky a dictator. I have a problem with that. But I agree, it is about actions and consequences. Michael mentioned numbers. I agree, which is why I mentioned the numbers from Yemen, from Gaza, from Iran. I mean, the problem is, Michael likes to use Iran as a prop with which to beat his opponents, but he doesn't actually care about the Iranian people. He said the Iranian people were joyous about these attacks. Actually, the Iranian opposition movements were absolutely opposed to this. Nargis Mohammadi, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, was in prison in Iran, came out and said no. Prominent Iranian dissidents said this is not the way we want to get freedom in our country, on the back of Israeli and American bombs, which killed multiple innocent Iranians. Residential apartment buildings blown up, car bombs going off. If you think that makes the world a safer place, then you really just don't value Iranian life. You don't value Palestinian life. That's the fundamental problem.
Let's talk about what that debate actually exposed, because Michael Gove's pause is not just an embarrassing television moment. It is the sound of an entire foreign policy framework collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions. In front of a live audience, start with the IAEA monitors, because that is the number that ends the debate, and Gove had no response to it. Under the 2015 nuclear deal that Barack Obama negotiated, the same deal David Cameron's government supported, the same deal Theresa May's government defended, Iran was enriching uranium at 3.67%. There were 274 IAEA monitors inside Iranian nuclear facilities every single day. Cameras, sensors, real-time verification. James Mattis, Trump's own defense secretary, told him not to tear it up. It is working. He said Israeli generals told him not to tear it up. Trump tore it up anyway because Obama did it. And Trump does not like Obama. That is the documented record not analysis, not opinion. The documented record. After Trump pulled out, Iran started enriching at 60%. Then we bombed them. Now there are 0 IAEA monitors inside Iran. 0. So the question Mehdi Hasan kept asking, where is the uranium, is not a rhetorical flourish. It is the most important national security question of the moment, and nobody in the pro-war camp has a coherent answer, because the answer is we do not know. We had eyes inside those facilities, and we voluntarily destroyed the framework that gave us those eyes and replaced it with bombs. And now we are supposed to believe the world is safer. Gove could not answer it. He pivoted to intent. He pivoted to the nature of the Iranian regime. He pivoted to NATO every time the conversation returned to the specific documented consequences of tearing up a working agreement. He changed the subject because the subject has no answer that supports his position. The gay rights argument is the one that deserves to be examined with full precision because it is the most cynical rhetorical move in the pro-war playbook, and the audience member destroyed it in 30 seconds. Gove invoked the treatment of gay people in Iran as a justification for military action. Then Mehdi Hasan asked the obvious question, have you ever spoken out against anti-homosexual laws in Saudi Arabia? Gove said yes. Hasan said, but they are our allies, and that is the entire argument collapsed in 2 sentences. The British government has maintained deep military and economic partnerships with Saudi Arabia for decades. Saudi Arabia executes gay people, not imprisons, executes, and there has been no military action, no bombing campaign, no moral emergency, because Saudi Arabia buys British weapons and sits in the right geopolitical column. The concern for gay people in Iran is not a moral position. It is a marketing strategy for a war that was decided for entirely different reasons. And then the audience member asked the question that produced the silence. During Israeli strikes on Iran, Israeli forces struck Iranian prisons during visiting hours. More than 50 people were killed in a single strike. Many of them were LGBTQ individuals, the exact community Gove had just invoked as a justification for military action. So how does killing them help them? Gove had no answer. The room went cold. Because there is no answer, you cannot claim to be acting in defense of a community and simultaneously be the reason members of that community are dead. Narges Mohammadi, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate who was imprisoned in Iran, came out explicitly against the strikes. The Iranian opposition movements that Gove claimed were celebrating in the streets were publicly opposed to this. The actual Iranian dissidents, the people with the most at stake, the people who have suffered most directly under the Iranian government, said this is not the way we want freedom. Not on the back of Israeli and American bombs killing our families in residential apartment buildings. Gove used Iranian suffering as a prop and then had nothing to say when confronted with the people he was supposedly defending, telling him directly that he was making things worse. Now, follow the money because that is where the moral language always leads. The UK government quietly approved military export licenses worth over £20 million on May 11, 2026, targeting systems and components going directly into the conflict. Gove was on television defending as a moral necessity. Global arms revenue in 2026 hit $679 billion, the highest level of war profiteering ever recorded in human history. RTX received a $94.6 million Pentagon contract modification in April to scale Tomahawk production to over 1,000 units per year. That is not a defense strategy. That is a subscription model. To keep those profit margins alive, they need the threats Gove is paid to amplify on television. Mehdi Hasan did in that debate what this channel does every video. He brought the specific documented numbers and refused to let the moral language substitute for the factual record. And Gove's pause, that long, empty, searching silence, was the establishment realizing in real time that the script does not hold. when someone in the room actually did the reading. There is always money for targeting system licenses approved quietly in the dark. There is never money for schools, healthcare, or energy bills. That gap is not an accident. It is the policy to like this video, share it with everyone who still thinks this war is about human rights. Subscribe to Lucas Rant. We follow the money every single time. See you in the next one.